There's probably not a day goes by at our practice there are not soldiers. Men and women who are in uniform. We always ask them if they do want to come to practice, it would really help my guys if you got in uniform. Because it would be a little bit more real to them. My young people, they're kind of a visual group. And that means something to them. And then when the folks come and they speak to our guys and bring them reality and just talk to them time after time after time, hopefully we're helping them grow in toward that imperative need to be leaders and understand the importance of what the men and women who serve our country in the uniforms and out of the uniforms, what that means to us. And it's something that I believe we need to work on day in and day out, and no one does it better than the military. We probably steal most of our ideas from reading about the military, listening to the military, taking the lead from the military. Because there is no one more unselfish on this planet than the men and women in uniform and the men and women that serve them behind the scenes. We talk all the time about our football family. And there are certain guys that are very recognizable because they make tackles and catch passes and run the ball and throw touchdowns and all that. But there are many, many guys that no one has ever heard of, that if it weren't for them, we wouldn't have a chance to be prepared for our game. Those guys that work every day and emulate the opponent's plays. Those guys that sit in the meetings and grow with our guys that are going to get in the game and challenge them and try to beat them out, so that this guy says, hey, I'm going to beat you out. And this guy says, no, you're not. So he gets a little better. Oh, yeah, I'm going to beat you out. No, you're not. Competitiveness. All the things that it takes to become as good as you can be. Most of the folks involved aren't even known. The guys that keep our people healthy, that train them in the weight room, that rehab, that equip them, that move them from place to place, that feed them, that counsel them. So many people. And so it's imperative to us to try to get our young people to understand what becoming a servant, what becoming a leader is all about. We have the thing we call our Block O. And again, picture our situation. Our young people are highly recruited, highly thought of, probably have a much higher opinion of their relative importance than maybe they should. And it's not their fault, because that's all they've known. That's the way they've been treated for 10 years leading up to college. We really believe that our task is to help them try to gain their perspective. And so when we recruit them, not that they are able to assimilate it right then, but at least they know from the day we start recruiting them till the day that they walk out the door that we're going to be talking about the same things. And we talk about what we call our Block O of life. And the top half of the Block O of life is our purpose in life, and the bottom half is the goals that we have. And everything that we try to do with them as a coaching staff has got to pass the test of fitting in somewhere into what's important. We believe that their spiritual growth, their moral growth is critical at that stage. And when you go to college, is a time where you're really thinking through what it is that's important to you. In fact, I was told once that a university means unity in diversity. And that you might come from one ideology and someone else from another cultural background and someone else from another thought process. And growing to understand what you really stand for and believe in, and sometimes those things are tested, that's a critical time, in our opinion, in an 18 to 22-year-old. Also, they're going away from home for the first time, so their family still is critical. And we've got to make sure we keep their family wrapped into what we do, but they also need to start thinking about how they can be a better son, a better brother. Someday, maybe even a husband, perhaps a father. And that we need them to have experiences to grow in that area, to learn in that area. And then in the area of caring and giving, that's what leadership and service is all about. We try to help them understand that here's the hypothesis. You are blessed. You're big and you're strong. You've had coaching, you've had parental support, you have an opportunity to get a place like Ohio State, you have a chance to grow physically, academically, all the rest. You are blessed. And with those blessings goes the responsibility to reach out and care and give and make a difference to others. And so we try to set up as many outreach opportunities as we possibly can, whether it be elementary schools, whether it be food banks. Our guys, our junior class just went over and spent an afternoon at the VA hospital. We're fortunate at Ohio State to have an extraordinary cancer hospital, which our players visit the patients there. Right downtown here, we have Children's Hospital, and our kids have a chance to go in there. We need them to leave Ohio State knowing that a lot of who you are is your willingness to go out and care and give and serve to others, most especially when you're as blessed as we are. And we try to equate it to the fact that that's why we are the country we are. We know we are blessed as a country. We know we have extraordinary folks. And we've had some good fortune. And with that goes that responsibility to reach out and make a difference in the world. And that's what you do. That's what we hope our young people will understand as they grow in that period of their life. And then the bottom half of our block O is easy. The bottom is our football family. I have to admit, my young people's favorite subject at Ohio State is football. That's what it is. And that's okay, because people's passion is what their passion is. They're interested in what they're interested in. And therefore, we're going to help them get as good as they possibly can as a team, number one, and most especially as an individual. That we are going to work hard to give them the greatest resources, the greatest instruction, the greatest experiences, become the best they can become. Strength and fitness and training is a big part of our world. There's a great relevance to playing a game of football and being strong and being explosive and being agile and having great conditioning and all those things. So that's huge in our area. But also, while they're there, we want them to grow to understand the importance of good health habits. Good health habits, we tell them, will serve them long after their athletic talents will. That understanding of putting the right things in your body, exercising properly, taking care of yourself, is huge. And we want them to grow in that area. And then academics, and it's not last but not least type thing, but academics are crucial. All we ask them to be is the best that they could possibly be. We want to be the best academic team in the Big Ten. 8 of our 10 years at Ohio State, we've had the most academic All-Big Ten performers of anyone in the conference. To be academic All-Big Ten, you have to have a 3.0 GPA. As a sophomore or above, you have to be a starter. You have to be a letter winner on your team. And 8 of our 10 years, we've been number 1 in the Big Ten. Our first year we weren't. This past year we weren't. We were second. Northwestern was ahead of us. We have a passion to be the best. And we have a passion for them to take advantage of that opportunity to obtain that college degree, to obtain that wisdom, that knowledge. Now, we also tell them this, that just because you're a great football player doesn't make you better than anyone. Just because you have a college degree Doesn't make you better than anyone. It gives you opportunities, perhaps, that some might not have. It gives you maybe more responsibility to serve others because of your good fortune to have had a chance to play football or to get an academic degree. But it doesn't make you any better than anyone. We've all had people in our lives who don't have a college degree that have made the difference in our lives because of the wisdom, because of the desire to serve. And we've also had some people in our lives that have been schooled dramatically and have made a difference in our lives. We have an opportunity while they're at Ohio State to grow and to walk out the door with all those experiences and that college degree, which might open some doors that otherwise could not be opened without it. So it's critical. So in everything we do, as we try to raise up leaders, we try to have them fit into those areas. How many of you have been parents of teenagers? A lot of them, okay? I have 115. And that's why I'm a little brave. But there's nothing we wouldn't do for our kids. Just like there's nothing you wouldn't do for your kids. And helping them grow to become leaders, while we know there's going to be ups and downs, is the most critical thing we can do for their good, but for the good of our country. And anything that's for the good of this country, as evidenced by what you do, is for the good of this world. And so, lastly, I just want to leave you with what we tell our young people are some quick characteristics of that leader. We say to our young people that a leader takes the risk and talks about what they would like to accomplish, what they would like to do, how they would like to serve. That's a risk. Sometimes it's easier to say, well, I don't know if we're going to be that good a team this year because, so forth. And sometimes it's easier just not to step out on Front Street and say, this is what we're going to do. This is what I'd like to accomplish, even though it's challenging. But our country does it every day. Our country does it every day. Second thing we tell them is, once you've decided that you do want to take that risk, in our case, we want to raise up those 115 young people to grow as leaders. We want to win some games, and we want to graduate players, all those things. You have to be accountable for all of your actions. We're in a situation right now that I didn't get as wise of counsel as I should have. And so I'm accountable for a leadership action that I took. But that's part of being a leader. And when you're a leader and you're a servant, you look it right in the eyes, you learn, you know what you should do, you are reminded that you should always seek wise counsel. And then you go forward. And that's what every one of our young people, because I promise you, our young people, if they have 100 actions a day, not all of them are perfect. You've got to take responsibility. And they've got to move forward. That's what being a servant is. And then thirdly, we tell them, as a direct result of number 2, if you really are a leader, you will never quit. You will never, I don't care what the score is. I don't care if there's 30 seconds left in the game and we're down by 10 points. And the result of that game probably isn't going to be what we want it to be. You are not going to quit. If you want to be viewed by your peers, you will never quit. We've been taught that by our military so many times. everything hasn't gone perfect in our history. Every decision didn't work out just right. Every other world leader council that we sought didn't always end up moving toward a perfect decision for us. But our country has never quit. Our leaders in our country have never quit. So if you want to be a leader, you got to take that risk. You got to verbalize what it is you want to do for the good of the whole. You've got to take responsibility for every single action. You've got to make sure you never quit. And then lastly, within whatever medium you are as a leader, whether you're in charge or you're in an office with 3 people, you have to have a sense of impending greatness that the people around you feel. That if they follow you, then we're going to be just fine. The best leaders I've ever had on any football teams have been those guys that there was just that something about them. I remember back in 2002, we were coming off 3 really mediocre seasons. Those of you Ohio State enthusiasts will remember 1999, we were 6-6. 2000, we were 8-4. 2001, our first year here, we came flying out of the gate 7-5. Almost a short career. And so our guys had not had the types of successes in football that they dreamed about having when they came to Ohio State. And I'll never forget that 2002 group of older guys. They just had something about them. And they talked from day one as if they were going to be national champions. And I thought, oh my gosh, I'm not sure we're there. But all spring long, they kept talking about it. And they kept, you could just see that sense about them that they were saying to those other guys, and they were saying to us coaches, if you'll follow us, we're going to do something special. And so, as I thought about that summer, I thought, those guys that are talking about that, none of them have ever been national champions. Heck, none of them have ever been Big Ten champions. So I thought, you know what? Let's go back and learn from something. So we went out and we got a copy of a book called Expanding Your Horizons. It was about the 1942 team at Ohio State. The 1942 team at Ohio State was the national champions. First one we ever had. There were 43 players on that team. 34 of them ended up after the season leaving and going and serving World War II. 3 of them ended up getting highly decorated. One of them was a key at the Battle of the Bulge, Chuck Surrey, who's still living, still on our faculty at age 86. And he was a sophomore. He was All-American. He enlisted. He was over in the conflict. And I'm not a military historian, but as I understand, there was a time where it didn't look good in that battle. We were kind of surrounded. And they asked for a volunteer to get through the enemy lines to regain communication with General Patton, I believe, and let them know we need a new plan. And Chuck Surrey raised his hand and said, I'll do it. And as he made his way through the enemy lines, his helmet was shot off, his belt pack was shot off, but he made it. And they regained communications, and the rest is history. But we asked that 2002 team, in the course of that summer, we were going to read that book and see what men that were national champions were all about. And that's when I think our love affair started with the military. We brought back as many of them as we could find. I think today are still about a dozen of them living. Back then there was about 20 of them living. We brought back as many of those guys as we could to talk to our young people. Because they had not only been national champions, which is what our guys were interested in, they had been servants. They had been willing to leave the cozy atmosphere of college and playing college football and go and sacrifice and serve. And as our season went along, we were not a great team. I mean, we were not a great team. Cincinnati should have beat us. If they could just catch, they would have beat us. That's the truth. Many of you will remember Purdue when we're behind and it's 4th down and 1 and Craig Tressel throws a 40-yard touchdown. And Coach, that was a great call. He was like the 4th choice on that play. That's not where that ball was supposed to go. And then Illinois in overtime, all the rest. But that group of guys had suffered because Mike Doss and Craig Tressel and Donnie Nicky and Will Smith and those guys came to Ohio State after that good run we had in like 96, 97, 98. They came to Ohio State thinking that's the way it was going to be, and then it wasn't for 3 years. They suffered. They were disappointed. We'd made some poor choices on and off the field. We'd made some mistakes. But they decided that they were going to have that sense of impending greatness. And that if they could convince the younger players and the coaches, they had to convince me. Sometimes as a coach, you're watching the film and you're saying, oh my. You know. And so I had to be convinced. But because they had that sense, the improbable occurred. And then a few years later, as times when everyone wanted to say, well, is this team like the 02 team? And I'd always just shake my head and I'd say, no, this 06 team hasn't suffered at all. Ever since they've been here, they've been going to bowl games, winning games, all this stuff. The improbable, or maybe at that time it was the probable, didn't occur because there was someone else out there who was the improbable that had that sense of impending greatness, and they got the golden crown. What's beautiful about our country is that it's improbable that we could be for the world what we are and what we would like to be. It really doesn't make much sense. There's too much going against us. There's too much distraction. There's too many things in this world that people think are more important, whether it's Hollywood or sports or whatever it happens to be. But that's the beauty of the leadership that we seek to grow. Is we seek to grow that leadership that will take the improbable and have it make a difference in our world. And you do it every day. I'm sure that you don't get reminded of that every day. Because, honestly, I needed MapQuest to get out here. So I'm not sure, well, I am sure most of the city's smarter than me, but I'm not sure that everyone knows what you do. But that's not important. What's important is you know. And what's important is that you know that they know. Because there's no question about it. When you walk around here, you know, you can feel that this is a place of service. This is a place of leadership. And on behalf of all of us in this Central Ohio area, in the state of Ohio, in this country, thank you. God bless you. Go Bucks. Go USA.
Have a seat. First of all, Coach Tressel, again, on behalf of the entire organization, we want to say thanks. I'd like the members of our LPA to stand for their leadership. This is a very special group. We promote this idea of leadership throughout our organization, and they're the ones that came up with a great idea of having you here on behalf of the entire installation and all of our outlying sites. And I'd just like to say thank you to them, and I'd like everyone to give them a round of applause. I think most of the workforce here knows that I'm an avid University of Miami fan.
We predict.
So, on most days, right about now, I'd probably say me against all of that is a fair fight. I would say your appearance today has definitely tipped the scales, and I realize that I'm outnumbered, surrounded, and my position is being compromised. So for probably the first time ever, I'll say go Bucks. As I listened to your speech, and being an avid Miami fan, I did notice that there was something different about you last year during the whole football season. I was trying to figure out what it was, and then it finally came to me today when you were talking about your experience on the KC-135 and the trip throughout theater, and you were talking about the swag. And it came to me that what was different last year was that you had more swagger. So for the swagger and certainly the great leadership that you provide your organization, an example that you provide for our community, again, we want to say thank you for taking time out of a very busy schedule to be with us here today. Let's give him one more. Sir, the final thing I'll say is that we present this not just on behalf of the people here, we present this on behalf of all of the soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marine, Coast Guard, and civilians throughout our great country that provide defense for our nation. Thank you again. Thank you.
Okay? Put the sweater vest in the middle.
Okay, thank you again.
Thank you for coming. You're dismissed.